Hello YouTube viewers. The purpose of this video is to convey a matter of grave concern which is happening right here in the UK. Whilst one may feel that we live in a democratic and humane society, what I've had to endure over the past 8 years has been anything but that. During this period, I have been targeted by what I believe to be a government-sanctioned operation which has had a catastrophic impact on my psychological well-being. The resources that they have had at their disposal have been vast, well-funded, and highly sophisticated. This is why I believe this to be a government-sanctioned operation using methods that are callous, cruel, and inhumane. I've had great difficulty convincing family, friends, and mental health professionals that this is fact and not a figment of my imagination. But my state of mental health is repeatedly brought into question. The most frustrating thing has been obtaining proof of these goings-on, which is why I've decided to broadcast these events with the hope that it sparks a magnanimous response. Maybe someone out there has had similar experiences to mine, and we can open a dialogue. Let me start by saying I'm a drug user, but my lifestyle does not give this organization, who I believe to be law enforcement, the right to subject me to the intolerable levels of abuse that I have faced these past 8 years. I've often asked myself, why me? Why focus so much effort on destroying every aspect of my life? I also find it hard to understand how this organization can operate with impunity, and how far up does this go? Who finances and approves these methods? It all began in January 2012 when I first became aware that I was being targeted here in Birmingham, UK. I began using drugs in 1999, which I accept that the most profound effect is paranoia, but in January 2012 it went to another level. It was then that I deduced that personnel had been placed next door where I lived at the time, because whenever I used, the activity next door would erupt to imaginable levels. I began recording each session on my phone and my laptop to evidence this, and by June 2014, I had deteriorated dramatically, psychologically. It was constantly on my mind that I was being watched every day, all day, but I couldn't figure out why, and I wasn't entirely sure, but at this point, I felt it had to be law enforcement. During this time, not only was there a huge commotion every time I used, I was also experiencing highly palpable sensations all over my body, particularly in the genital area. I never experienced anything like this, anywhere near to this, from 1999 to 2012. My theory regarding the sensations is that some type of device was being deployed. I might be wrong, but I think the device emits electromagnetic radiation because electromagnetic waves can easily penetrate walls. It's just a theory, but I also believe that changing the wavelength can change the effect on the body. However, regardless of the source, they have used this device to prod and poke my entire body, and they have paid particular attention to my butt and my genital area. This is a highly manipulative and unethical method, and I feel that they're having fun at my expense. Which most of the time lasts for hours. By June 2014, with all the evidence that I had collated, I was totally convinced that I was being targeted by law enforcement. So I decided to confront them with the issue. I went to Steelhouse Lane police station and asked to speak to a highly ranked official because I wanted definitively answers. But what I got was a section under the Mental Health Act and was put in an institution. But I never posed a threat to myself or anyone else. I only went to the police to get answers to my question. I was not untoward in any way. My mother was seriously ill at the time, and she relied heavily on me as her carer. But I was institutionalized for 5 months altogether, and unfortunately, she lost her life. It was at this time that I was so broken, I tried to commit suicide. May I add, under the watchful eye of this organization. Members of my church persuaded me to go to hospital, where I was diagnosed with kidney failure and a badly damaged right arm that required surgery, which now has permanent nerve damage. I've had to undergo multiple surgeries since. Since that time, I've lived in several shared accommodations where they have continued to use this device on me. They have hacked all my online accounts, Facebook, Gmail, Apple ID, as well as all my devices, namely my phones and my web TV. In February 2017, I got my own flat, and the abuse has still continued, mainly the prodding and the poking of my body and the hacking. Over the past couple of months, the intensity levels have gone up dramatically. Since moving in 3 years ago, I began to strongly feel that they have again positioned themselves in close proximity, possibly next door, which is a nursery for young children. There have been times where I've used and the noise levels around me increased dramatically within seconds. I've become so wound up that I would leave my flat and walk about 20 minutes to my brother's. What happens then is what I had experienced before in 2012 and 2015, and that is numerous vehicles, some cars, some taxis, some trucks, all with a highly noticeable blue tinted side light. Whether day or night, this has happened. This last week alone, from say the 17th of the 2nd, 2020 to the 25th of the 2nd, 2020, there have been 4 occasions that I have left my flat in a right state, and I've seen numerous vehicles highly active around me while I walk to my brother's house. This has been 5 a.m., 6:30 a.m., 7 a.m., and 11:30 a.m. Now I ask the question, why are they utilizing all these resources on me, but not the drug dealers that I associate with? Well, today, folks, was my breaking point, and I want this story to be heard globally if possible. Folks, here in the UK, it is deemed acceptable to target and torture its citizens in their own home. I have been a vulnerable and easy target for these heinous practices for 8 long, extremely distressing years. And since I don't have the resources to prove this as fact, I will broadcast these events to as many people who will listen. Thanks for listening.